Welcome, dearest retainers, to Court of Blades, and welcome to Valloward, the greatest city in this or any other age. A city where hearts race and swords flash, where intrigue and danger lie around every corner. Centuries ago, celebrated veterans were given title to Valor Isle, a place long abandoned by its first residents. Here, the heroes found ancient secrets, bountiful land, and a fruit bearing oracular gifts. Generations later, 6 families vie for ultimate control of this jewel of the archipelago, each seeking to lead the great dance of houses. A new retinue rises to clash with flashing blades, veiled plots, and powerful magics in pursuit of their house's interests and their own secret ambitions. Speculate presents Valloward, a Court of Blades campaign, starring Primi Mohammed, Marie Bilodeau, Brandon O'Brien, Gregory A. Wilson, and your dancing master, Michael R. Underwood. Be welcome, retainer. Get comfortable, but not too comfortable. It's time for Court of Blades.
It is indeed time for Court of Blades, and it's a great pleasure to welcome you all here. It's actually past time for more of the award-winning and nominated Valloward Court of Blades. I am, as always, Arvin Elleron / Gregory A. Wilson, one of the co-hosts for Speculate, and I'll jump you over to our players in just a moment. I apologize again for we have a very late start today because we had all kinds of cursed tech problems, from audio issues to one of the players' mouse and keyboard suddenly not working to a variety of other things. So it's just it's a problem, and so I have things that I have to adjust clearly to fix all of that. So I apologize unreservedly for all of that, and hopefully we will not have that problem in the future. My apologies, everybody. But it wasn't just me; it was a bunch of us. that was the cursed sort of thing. But we are here and ready to go, and I am going to just mention one quick thing before we get started, which is just for my own channel's listeners. Tomorrow at 7:30 p.m., Saturday the 26th, we will have a special event. It is a release party for my band The Road's new album, Exodus. We will have a release party not only featuring the art from our very own Drew the Damager, but also, of course, the music from myself, Zach Clay, channel regular, as you know, and Michael Bruce, our guitarist. And we're going to be going through every song. We're going to be talking about it. We will have a giveaway. One lucky person will win a copy of this album, and we'll have it sent to them. And you'll also be able to buy the album and do some other cool stuff. So I'm very excited about that. That's happening tomorrow, Saturday the 26th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And then more stuff down the line in terms of other things. But we'll talk about that later on. So I am going to unmute myself and apologize to whoever I interrupted because I can't hear them. And then I am going to unmute them and finally head over to reveal at long last. We're all here. Well, most of us, many of us are here, and apparently have things semi-working, allegedly. We, like for the most part, not cursed. We promise, not cursed. Maybe cables broken on my end or something, but not cursed. And I'm going to hand things over now to our spectacular dancing master, I should say, award-nominated dancing master, to introduce our award-nominated show. I don't think I've said that enough. Mike, over to you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Valloward, our critically acclaimed Court of Blades actual play series here on twitch.tv/Arvin Elleron. I am Mike. I am the dancing master for this series. I am one of the 3 co-hosts of Speculate. And so that's why I'm here, and that's why we're here. Greg, because it's funny, and because I'm usually humble, I will need you to add the Minnesota Webfest laurel to our overlay.
I was literally, as you were doing this, looking for the goddamn Minnesota laurel. It's not my fault that we have 6 million overlay, Webfests, okay?
So I'm putting on my to-do list, add Google Drive subfolder for Web Festival laurels because we're at the point that there's enough of them that they deserve their own folder.
You need to send me a Minnesota Webfest again, because I added the Baltimore one, and then in the middle of the video, Mike's like, it's still layered over the. I'm like, God damn it! I know that it's layered over this thing.
Just a second. I'm gonna create the laurel again right now.
Yeah. Okay. Send it to me. I'm sure you did it again. Yeah, I know. And Prince Justin demands that. Yes, I understand. Prince Justin wants Minnesota pride represented. No problem. We get it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live Valloward production meeting.
Oh, God.
Okay, just a second. I hope that you all are having a lovely evening / afternoon / day. We have had a time trying to get this session up and running, and so we're just all happy to be here. Honestly,
yeah.
I am delighted to be with the players that I have with me today, and I'm very glad that we're doing a tournament arc. And all I really need to do is unleash the part of my brain that goes, "Swords go burr."
I don't know. Be careful. You just be like, your swords break, and now it's just guns. Like, God damn it. Okay.
No, because I had Oliveri instantly disarm you in a previous session.
You did.
And I feel like it would be mean to try to do that several times. At least too close together.
That's true. That's true. Okay, I'm fixing the thing.
So, now that I've vamped enough to get the production stuff underway, Court of Blades is a Forge in the Dark role-playing game by a couple of Drakes, aka Navi and Sean Drake. And I want to let folks know that the Drakes are actually doing a itch.io Creator Day Ashcan sale, where they are offering a huge discount on a number of their Ashcan games. Ashcans, in this case, being the kind of capsule initial version of a game without a lot of art. It's kind of the minimum viable play document version of a game. And they do a number of these Ashcans that are totally playable, and then theoretically, any of these that maybe sell well enough tell the Drakes, hey, there is interest in expanding this thing maybe out into a bigger thing. The Drakes are tremendously prolific and really great at conveying a vibe and taking a rule set and moving it into another subgenre and really making it fit, much like they have done with Court of Blades, where they take the kind of scoundrel heist mission structure from Blades in the Dark by John Harper and adapt it into this like Renaissance intrigue version where you play as this coterie who are serving a group as opposed to a group of scoundrels who are in it for themselves. And so I would encourage folks to go and check out that sale link, because this is an itch.io Creator Day. The platform forgoes their normal fee, and therefore the creators get a larger percentage of every sale on these Creator Days. And the Drakes are offering stuff on sale, so definitely go check that out. We are going to rejoin the Messengers of Vorster in the Hibiscus Tournament, which is an annual display of arms by the bravos of the great houses of Valloward. So this is a round-robin tournament where the different bravos of the 6 houses do one-on-one bouts to show off to one another, to kind of fight for glory. But these conflicts are also a proxy for the various grudges and debts and interplays between the various houses. And I will tip my hand here to reveal that those inter-house conflicts will in fact emerge throughout this tournament, and everyone should be prepared for that. But that's why Carevis Diorencio, the Bravo of Vorster, is not here alone. And so I will ask our players to introduce themselves and their character, starting with Rhiannon.
Hey, Rhiannon Held. I write urban fantasy as Rhiannon Held, and space opera is RZ Held. And starting tomorrow, or maybe even now, depending on time zone, I'm part of the narrative sale, and I'll put a link in the chat. And so you can get some of either my urban fantasy or my space opera in that. And I am playing Gensia, our knack, doing our magic.
Hello, everyone. It is I, Brandon O'Brien. I am a poet, writer, and game designer from Trinidad and Tobago, and one of the co-hosts of Speculate, alongside Mike and Greg. Before I say anything else, I would like to echo Mike's recommendation of checking out a couple of Drake's Created a Ashcan sale. Not only because you are supporting the people who supported us playing Valloward in the first place, but because Disaster Peace is there as well. So if you want to play Blades in the Dark Magical Girl shenanigans, you should definitely check that out because it is in fact rad.
Hey, Brandon,
also,
do you have games on itch.io that people could buy today?
I do. In fact, I also have a Created Day sale in which you can buy some of my two-player games in particular, including the terrible date night engine games that include The Moon Wants Me to Leave You and Red Delicious, which you can get on on as much as 25% off, and doing so helps me have money on hand when I get to Big Bad Con so I don't starve to death. So that would be very useful. But yeah, tonight I'll be playing Zelfa Hamill, the Knack, someone who is incapable of getting in fights, and I hope that during the Hibiscus Festival I don't have to get in any.
Okay. Yeah, I can't imagine. I mean, I too totally don't feel any need to be fighting in the high. Oh wait. My name is Gregory Wilson. Arvin Elleron here on Twitch, but I'm Gregory A. Wilson IRL. And folks know me mostly if you're on this channel already, but I will mention I again co-host of Speculate, etc., etc. And I already mentioned my big two things at the moment are the Grey Assassin trilogy. Renegade just released about 3 weeks ago. Grey Shade, the TTRPG, is going into playtest with Brandon O'Brien, this person right to your right as you look on the screen. And that's going to be playtested at Big Bad Con and then a little bit later on this year. So that's cool. That is the next step. I am super excited for that to be moving closer to release. So I'm excited about that. And as I mentioned before, again, my Band the Roads album Exodus releases tomorrow officially. So if you want to check that out, you should stop by at 7:30 p.m. Eastern by this channel where, and if you're here watching the VOD later on, you should go check out thebandtheroad.com where you can find more information about this album, which is our fourth, and we are excited to have done it after a long period of time and challenges of recording it all during the pandemic and all that good stuff. And I am playing as Carevis D'Orencio, the Bravo, who is has won round one of the Red Robin tournament, and the round robin, not Red Robin. They make good hamburgers, but that's not what I meant. Round Robin tournament, and hopefully we'll be able to, with the help and assistance of the amazing Messengers of Vorster, continue to advance the glory of Vorster and not reach some terrible, horrific fall. That's the hope.
Okay. And as I said before, I will be your dancing master. I am Mike. I use they or he pronouns. I write as Michael R. Underwood. I do action adventure, kinds of found family stories. If you like Valloward, you should check out Born to the Blade, which is a political martial arts epic fantasy serial that I wrote or that I created and co-wrote for Realm.fm with Marie Brennan, Cassandra Kaw, and Malka Older. You can listen to the entire first series, which is all that's been produced so far, for free as a podcast. Basically anywhere that podcasts exist. You can listen to it on YouTube. You can get the cool enhanced audio from Realm.fm. So go and check that out if you like the stuff that we're doing here with Valloward. I'm really proud of the work that we did on Born of the Blade because, like Valloward, it was a deeply collaborative process, and I found that really rewarding in that case and here in this game that we have all been creating and the world we have been making and detailing together. So the first thing that we need to do is tabulate Coterie XP from last session because we didn't get the chance to do that. And I want you all to have that XP. It will not be able to immediately give you a special ability, but it may mean that you get a new upgrade next time. So there's several prompts, and if you you can get 1 XP for each of these prompts, as with the other ones. Did you overcome an obstacle with honor or tradition last time? Last time being the start of the tournament and the confrontation with House Greymist about Oliveri.
I mean, yeah, I think we clearly did, both in terms of the combat itself that was won during the tournament, but also in facing down. I mean, we didn't do a very good job at not remaining on their radar, but as far as like upholding the honor of the house, and we were told, and I quote by our own precept, quote, "You have done well." So I wrote that down as a note. We have done well. So I think would suggest that means we did well in terms of overcoming an obstacle with honor or tradition. So I think we'd got that one.
So good. I will say for the second one, to save time, you absolutely contended with challenges above your station because House Greymist is tier 5.
For the moment.
For the third. Ooh, I like that ambition. Did you bolster your coteries reputation or develop a new one? Your reputation is daring. Or did you develop a new reputation in the last session?
Standing up to a house of higher standing is definitely daring.
Even more daring.
In particular, doing so without the obvious overt support of our of the heads of our house. Like, standing up to them on our own is particularly daring, I'd argue.
Yep.
Okay. That's 3. You express the goals, drives, inner conflict, or essential nature of the coterie.
Okay, I'll say, I don't know whether this is a stretch. If it is, Mike, it's fine. But the nature of the coterie, of the messengers, is working together for common purpose, it seems to me, to advance the interests of House Vorster, which I think we did. There were multiple setups that we did during the combat that I was then able to take advantage of during the actual combat, that, both Gensia and also that Mark, was able to observe some stuff. Zelfa had set things up ahead of time. So I feel like we absolutely expressed the essential nature of the coterie as a group working towards common purpose. I don't know about inner conflict, but I feel like we did essential nature and goals.
For this one, if you hit one of those that we're all satisfied with, that's fine to get the XP.
Okay.
And 5th, did we protect Valloward or her interests?
As goes Vorster, so goes Valloward. No, the better Vorster does, the better Valloward does. I mean, I think so, because Greymist. Listen, I mean, you can tell me, Brandon, Rhiannon, if this isn't right, but I mean, Greymist is bad news. They're bad news. They
shouldn't have a creepy knife.
Exactly. I mean, they're trying to screw
no matter
over
what they were going to do with it.
Yeah, they're imbalancing. It's the same thing when we dealt with a Revenant. That is not good for Valloward as a whole. So, I would argue yes, but
Well, and the guy who was killed on the train, like, he's sort of one of the little people of Valloward.
That's true.
Okay. So that would be 5 XP. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That takes you to 8 of 10 on the coterie XP track, which is very nice.
Mike, it says there's a maximum of 4 XP. I'm not that I'm arguing against 5. Are you?
So we have you have a bonus XP prompt because of the old guard special ability. So that
adds the max, that increases the max as well?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I do not have a way of easily changing the 4 to a 5 in this Roll20 thing.
Okay.
But thank you for your honesty in double checking that.
I am incorruptible, and as to be clear.
Okay. So last time the Hibiscus Tournament opened, you all were reminded that, in fact, House Greymist is hosting the tournament, as it is the duty/pleasure of the current first house among the great houses to host the tournament. And so one of the MCs of the tournament is none other than Jevely Greymist. And the Valeria, the Brava of Greymist, is the sister of Oliveri, the killer who you disarmed parentheses hand.
We handled him. Yeah.
Carevis faced off against Marlowe, the Bravo of Lironti, and was able to find victory, meeting strength with his own form of strength, bringing, I believe, a longsword to the battle against Marlowe's stronger single-handed blade, and was able to create a moment to strike a telling blow and win the pass. We will rejoin the group in that first evening of the Hibiscus Tournament. There are 2 days of bouts ahead of you, but part of this whole tournament is the social pomp and circumstance around it. And so we have this first evening party where, Carevis, you are expected to make an appearance and participate, because this means that then the people from the other houses can fuck with you, and then the members of your coterie can have your back and or screw with the other bravos.
Yep.
So this is a hot but not as hot summer evening. The sun has set. You have some lovely kind of magical lights in a variety of colors. There are a great number of summer flowers in bouquets all around, with of course, the hibiscus prominently displayed in a lot of situations. As a competing Bravo, Carevis, you are expected to wear a freshly picked hibiscus on, like basically on your breast, to indicate that you are a competitor. Do you have a different fancy outfit for this evening?
Give me a second.
Or are you wearing what you were wearing
It's not quite
today for your bout?
Well, I'm just, I'm making sure that I'm afraid this lovely piece of art from my child is probably not going to actually stay on my shirt. And I want to, by the way, you should all know I'm wearing my multiple swords shirt. Yeah, just in case. So yeah, I believe we were talking about wearing this, I was wearing this red and gold, sort of like mini, not a cloak really, but kind of almost like what would you describe it as, a half cape?
Yeah, because there's a half cape goes over just one shoulder. A half cloak might go down to like your waist or slightly below it.
Okay.
But if you want to do the one shoulder thing, then that's absolutely within like the fashion palette that we're working with here.
Then half cloak for sure, with the same color scheme. And it would be good if when it sort of moves around, you can see on the back the Vorster's arms. This is where Tari Toons is going to Kool-Aid Man through and be like, "That's not a coat of arms. Here's the real answer." But anyway, the sort of the image, the logo, if you will, of House Vorster on the back, and glittering in red and gold. And I would say that I have wrapped the hilt of my longsword, which I have, of course, scrupulously cleaned, with also red and gold inlaid ribbons, so that it has this same kind of glittering effect. So yeah, I've also made sure I've got the beard balm, all in and all that, so that it looks really good. And very important that I and the messengers are coming in as a group collectively, with the understanding that we do not go it alone here. This is an entire crew that is better than specifically Great, but also the other places that are there.
All right. So as the evening begins to progress, Rodriguez, the Bravo of Fairest, catches your eye, Carevis, and kind of gestures to a covered section that offers a little bit more privacy, but is still visible from by the other folks. So neither of you are especially endangered by going there, but you have a little bit more privacy to speak person to person, man to man.
Okay. So I might just let Gencia and Zelfa and Mark know that I'm I'll just be over there, like, sort of, so I don't just vanish without reason, and then would go over with Rodriguez.
And I think, unless Darcy is able to join us later tonight, let's intimate that Marcelo is off kind of tending to the house's business with regards to the tournament with a little bit of a longer lead, as he is used to doing as the hidden eye.
Okay.
And so that explains what's going on here.
Makes sense.
And so Rodriguez is wearing, fairest colors and a flat cap with a just preposterously large feather, doing the peacocking kind of thing. And he has a glass of some kind of sparkling adult beverage. Maybe there is maybe you can ferment Queen's apples. And so it's like a cider, but it's specific to this archipelago.
Got you.
Queen's apple cider.
The hardest of ciders. Okay.
That is carbonated here. And when you come into this kind of covered area, you realize that Rodriguez looks quite pale, more pale than you would expect for him.
Did Rodriguez compete already in the first round and win it?
He did compete. He did not win.
Oh. Did I see it?
Yes. There are a few enough fights that they are not run simultaneously.
Okay.
So everybody gets to see everybody else fight.
Okay, one more clarifying question. And if you need me to make a roll for it, I can. Was I able to determine if Rodriguez seemed off in his combat, or was he just, he got beat by a superior talent or whatever?
So he lost his first fight against Valda, who is the Bravo of Carrine.
Okay.
And Valda similarly has a very steady, straightforward style. She was able to, basically she had more patience than he did.
Okay.
And he made an action to try to make something happen, and she took that as an opportunity.
Is that unusual for Rodriguez to make that extra move? Would I say, based on?
He is usually the more patient fighter.
Okay. So
that's the context coming in.
And I would say, so you said he looks pale to me.
Yeah.
Rodriguez, my friend, it is good to see you. Not always the easiest way to begin things, but there is still time for us to both recover. And I hand him a drink. Maybe I got, from the tray or something. Right. I got a drink for him.
Yes. Thank you. It takes the drink and downs quite a bit of it in one go and says, Carevis, we have known each other for some time. And you know that we jest and we poke fun, but we do that out of love. And so know that when I ask you this, it is not a jest, and I only ask because of the fondness that we have for each other. My son has accumulated a number of debts. And the Princept of Fairest has pledged to cut him off unless I make a fine showing for myself in this tournament. I have already lost. I cannot expect to win against Valeria. And I don't know about my fortunes against Wren. I hesitate to even ask, my friend, but you probably know where this conversation leads. I could not ask anyone else. I would not ask anyone else. You have proven your valor this year several times already. I ask that you only consider, this is not a demand, only a request between friends, that you reflect upon your solid status within the house and see if you might have the room within your pride to consider going easy on me tomorrow, you might say. Perhaps we will not say such gauche things as throwing or forfeit, just that you deserve to know why I would ask. And I'm sorry for having to ask.
So
he kind of gulps and just looks very uncomfortable with what he's had to say.
So I kind of like, I've been leaning on the railing, I guess, off to the sort of the side of the, behind the regular room where we are. And I sort of push off and I put the drink down on the railing and I say, "It seems to me, my friend, that you are selling yourself short before you need to, before you have to ask me whether I should go easy on you. Perhaps you should make sure that you do not go easy on your other opponents. You are better than Wren, and as for whether you can defeat Valeria, it's not at all clear to me that you have no chance against her. If you have your usual level of patience, there is no reason you cannot find some way to defeat her. And that would probably redound to your benefit and honor better than asking a friend to go easy upon you, yes?"
Of course, I have lost a good deal of sleep over this matter. It was impressed upon me that unless I were to win at least 2 of my matches, that my standing within the house would fall and that the princept would no longer be interested in compensating for my son's unwise decisions in his business ventures.
Did your son... There is always, 3 ways. There is the obvious answer, which is to say, yes, I will help. And the obvious answer, which is to say, for my honor, for your honor, no, I will not. There is a third way, though. What if there were another way for your son to compensate for his debts, so that your princept would not have to rely upon you, and, more important, and I kind of just sort of gently point at the bags below his eyes, so that you, perhaps, could fight without the pressure under which you currently obviously labor? Perhaps we could help him that way. Is there a way that we could help pay your son's debts and maintain your honor?
It would be proper for me to tell you that, of course, you should not do a thing that it would be untoward for me to ask. But there is no need for us to dance that dance, as you have met me with more grace than I deserve for what I have asked. So I will not dance any further. His debts are held by the Golden Scale. The Golden Scale, Mike says, jumping out of character, is a Savannah trade company. They are one of the largest trade concerns in Valloward. So settling a debt with them is no small task, but they are people that operate here. They are within the kind of social scheme of Valloward.
Do we have a relationship in the coterie list with them?
They are on the house's minor sheet, but you do not have a positive or negative status with them. They are tier 4.
Okay. Are there, what are the winnings for the Hibiscus Tournament? Can I ask before I go back to this? Because I know it's honor and glory and all that, but I assume there is a monetary award of some kind?
Yeah, there is a cash prize and probably like a minorly enchanted blade that is different every year. And so, like the Hugo awards are made by a different craftsperson every year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the smiths of Valloward and the archipelago compete to be the person to make the victor's blade every year. And I would say probably 1 to 2 of the other bravos are fighting this weekend with a victor's blade from a previous tournament, either with the enchantment suppressed or matched by an equivalent enchantment as agreed upon with their opponent.
Okay. Is the monetary award I'm sure it's not a fortune, but is it a decent amount?
I would say that it's probably the equivalent of 4 influence, which I don't know that it would eliminate Rodriguez's son's debt, but it would certainly go away toward doing that. What I will say to kind of show my hand is this is absolutely a thing that you and or your coterie mates could try to address over the course of this weekend as like a side endeavor that is supporting the overall action of the tournament, and that we don't need to do a whole engagement roll for that. We can do a bit of montaging.
Because and just from the sense of honor, and then I apologize for all these out of character questions, just from the sense of honor, I assume that the blade is not something that I would be able to freely give up for the house, but that the monetary thing is not why Vorster's competing in it. And right. So the money would be more or less, you can do what you like. And I have a way. Okay. So, all right. Assuming that that's correct, assuming that's your take on it as well, then I have something I'll say in character. Does that sound right though, Mike? Like that's like the money is not as much of a like, how dare you take away the money from Vorster? Okay.
Yeah. The money is nothing substantial to Vorster. The bragging rights is worth infinitely more.
Okay.
Especially as the 6th house.
Okay. So I have, all right. So I turn back, so having frozen, I'm back in him. And I say to Rodriguez, I put my hand on his shoulder and I say, my friend, there is this third way. We will do what we can to be able to reduce, minimize, mitigate, let us say, your son's debts, so that both you and I can maintain our honor. And we can perhaps do so if you would be willing to do something for me which might also redound to your benefit. You know something, I think, of the concerns that we have had about House, and I kind of look around to make sure, of House Greymist, our hosts for this endeavor, yes?
We all have our little birds, yes.
Yes. Well, this little bird would like to ask you to be able to help us. And I ask you this not as a quid pro quo, as you would say, a favor for a favor, but rather as an opportunity. Consider it a door opened. If I am able to win this tournament, and do so with honor, as I say, I will do what I can. In fact, even if I do not win, I will do what I can to mitigate your son's debts so we may both maintain our honor. In turn, I would ask for you to speak to the people at House Fairest once your honor has been maintained or even enhanced, and see what you can do about sending out some other chickadees, let us say, to find information about House Greymist. For I must tell you that they have a risk to them, and what they are risking could affect all of Valloward much more than a simple tournament or even simple debts. Would you be willing to look into this? And again, I do not ask you as a demand, and I will help regardless. But I hope that you will understand that I come to you understanding you are to be trusted, and I cannot only speak to our house if we are to counteract the effects of someone trying to not simply manipulate the game, but to overturn the table entirely.
I think it in the benefit of both of our houses' interests that we keep Grey Mist from being too comfortable in the high seat. Yes.
So
and presenting it that way, I think if I take an interest in some rumors that I've heard about Grey Mist's activities, it is known that we are friendly. It is not necessarily a problem. I think this is a thing that I can do. And I thank you for your discretion and your ingenuity.
And so I nod and I bow slightly. I throw back my cider in one gulp. I put the cup down and I say, now, go forward and show those stuffed popinjays you face tomorrow what it means to be an actual Bravo, and forget this situation with your son. Win your 2 matches, and we will have no need of other concerns. Put behind your concerns for your son. We will do what we can to address them. And be the Bravo that I know you can be. And I kind of grin slightly.
Yeah, and he stands up a bit. So if you wanted to make a gap in the armor roll here for Rodriguez, you would certainly get substantial effect. You've already fought Rodriguez a number of times. I don't know that you are necessarily interested in learning anything more in terms of more of the nature of any weaknesses he might be showing, but I want to give you that opportunity because it's clearly here, and I haven't asked you for a roll yet today.
Is there, that's fine, I'll happily take it, but is there a weakness for me to get one up on him in this match that we're going to eventually have, or is there something else? I'm not asking you to tell me what you're driving at, but like, I guess I just want to know what I'd be gapping in the armor for.
If you wanted to survey to read, how might I beat him fairly, or how might I beat him fairly in a way that still makes him look good?
I see.
Or is there something else going on with him?
Yeah, no, I dig that.
Any of those.
Okay. Yes, that makes sense. So I will do a survey roll then.
This is going to be controlled great.
Controlled great. I love that. All right, and that means I should get a bonus die because of the gap in the armor, right? Like,
so that bonus only applies to the 2 of the 1-2, right? You gather information and then you get a bigger bonus.
Oh, okay. So this is just 0 bonus dice for this then.
Yes.
Okay.
So on a 4, I think you're going to get lesser effect. So this is going to go from great to standard.
Okay.
And the way I would pitch that as a consequence is that because he is your friend, you are not as much looking to exploit what he has been talking about. Mm-hmm. But because you are who you are, and because you have been focused on encouraging him to be at his best and to not hold back, and that the fight that you 2 of you have will be above board, it is then not hard to think back to previous bouts that you have, friendly bouts that you've had with Rodriguez.
Right.
And you know that in times when he is tired, his guard will slip up or slip down depending on where you set your guard.
Okay.
And so if you set your guard high, he will open up more low shots and vice versa. And so you can basically move the fight up, down, left, or right. You can move the kind of center line of the fight because he will end up mirroring what his opponent does.
And I might be able to get a sense of whether high or low is more likely to tire him out so that I can set it that way. In other words, like,
high will tire him out faster.
Okay. All right. That is very useful. So, okay, cool. So that was the information I needed from that. Thank you for giving me the roll. Before you switch to someone else, I want to talk to both Gensia and Zelfa because I have a proposition for them. So so I kind of like, assuming that I can do that, I just leave Rodriguez behind, having bowed and done all that stuff. And I go like quickly to find Zelfa and Gensia, and I guess Marcelo's still elsewhere. So I would just ask the two of them and be like, and I say to both of them, in different spots, there is a lovely moon over there that I think you should all see. And I kind of do the, type of thing. So kind of moving over to another conveniently placed railing. Also, chat, very important to remember, also Speculate listeners, there's always a railing outside a ball with diplomatic intrigue. There's always a railing, just to be clear.
I think
a balcony somewhere.
Yeah, a balcony. There's always a balcony.
There's a balcony from a building, but because a lot of this is outside, there's also a lovely balcony that looks down over a great deal of the city, because Grey Mist, being rich, has a lot of upper ground. They have high ground.
Perfect.
In terms of like where
they build their castle on a cliff that just happens to be facing the city.
Every morning they yell out, "We have the high ground!" Like every morning. I would rail against the lack of such a thing. Very nice, Prince Justin. Well done. So when they come over, I say, I have a situation, but I think it may work to our benefit. I spoke to Rodriguez, the Bravo from House Ferrest, yes?
Your good friend?
Yes. My good friend apparently has a son who has made not good decisions, and he has concerns. If my friend does not perform well in this tournament, he said that his Princept of Ferrest will end up cutting off his son, and Rodriguez will be in a terrible position. But rather than do something which would harm his honor and our own, I have another thought. It is a higher risk maneuver. For, and I kind of pause and I look at both of them, it will require me to win this tournament. But if I win this tournament, this is my thought. There is a monetary award. The victor's blade must go to House Vorster. It is part of the honor of the thing, and the bragging rights we will get will already be benefiting us. But the money itself is not as significant. And so, I have a thought of splitting this money 3 ways. 1/3 of this, Gensia, I say looking at Gensia, would go to research for the house. Specifically, research on blades and how magical ones may be countered. And I kind of raise an eyebrow. And then I look at Zelfa and I say, and the Dialta should have had resources given to them long ago. 1/3 of this money I would give to you to give to them, so long as doing it, they know it is House Vorster who wishes to bring some measure of relief to the Dialta, if that is something you think would have value. And I kind of pause just to see what Zelfa thinks and Gensia think about that before I say the last third.
The Dialta can do with the money. I can think of a couple families who would like some of their roofs repaired or some food in their pantries. I'm not particularly warm to the idea that they need to know that Vorster gave them the money, but so long as the money's being spent, I'd like to help.
And I shrug and I say, and as to that, if you would prefer that it not be known that it came from Vorster, that is acceptable. But I think it is something which the elevation of the Dialta should be happening anyway, as a certain priest friend of mine would no doubt tell me. So, you may decide how the money is delivered. And, Gensia, would the research money be of some assistance?
Well, I would do it for free in as much as I have the time, but archives and materials and there are costs involved. It would make it go faster also.
Plus, this is a wonderful opportunity for you to write your dissertation and probably make your mark in the libraries as an act. I think you deserve it.
It's much better than the usual grant process. Anyway,
I wonder if there are any academics actually playing this game.
Who knows? Yeah. So I'm like, and the last third, and I sort of pause. I say, I would like to use to help mitigate my friend Rodriguez's son's debts. The reason is that if we can do this, first of all, we minimize the opportunity for Grey Mist to get a foothold on one of the other houses by uncovering corruption. And secondly, we gain a further ally because Rodriguez, out of gratitude and a willingness to understand when a house has problems, would be willing to spread the word about reducing House Grey Mist's influence. It is perhaps somewhat unorthodox, but I can think of no reason that honor would keep us from distributing money. The question is, I kind of look to both of them, can we do it? And by that I mean win.
You're the one who's going to be doing the fighting.
Can we win? As in, do you mean, do we believe that you have the capacity to disarm or severely unarm several high-ranking physicalists of other houses? Most easily. My only objection is this. I'm sure you know as well as most of us do that anyone on this island who is capable of leveraging debt to the weaker is more than willing to do so forever and with ease. My only hesitation is that you don't spend money attempting to undo something that can only be undone with a strong word or a stronger fist. Who are we dealing with again?
This is House Ferrist, who is, his son is in debt, I am told, to the Golden Scale.
And Rodriguez's son's name is Joao. Since I realized that I didn't want to keep going without that person having a given name.
Joao. Okay.
Yeah.
In favor of the thing, we should probably find out a bit about the Golden Scale to make sure they're not the wicked loan shark type. But if money solves the problem, I have no problem spending it on the problem. If it were anyone else, I'd do the same.
And I kind of glance over at Gensia and I say, I did not want to take this action without consulting the coterie first. But if Rodriguez has come to me with this concern, then this is not a man who acts out of malice or panic. And if he is acting this way, it means he is under great pressure, and that is a risk. We know we will not get any support from, let us say, Valeria and company.
Sorry, I think I may be having some internet problems, but please continue.
Okay.
Sure.
So I glance in that general direction of Gensia, and I'm like, and then back to Zelfa, to both of them, and I say, all right, then we must gather some information about the Golden Scale and see what we can find out about this debt. And perhaps, if we're lucky, find out a little bit about whether or not this debt was incurred completely above board, or whether, let us call them, student loan terms have been used in this sense.
Indeed. Again, some individuals on this island are more than happy to be wicked enough to ask folks to pay not in money, but in all kinds of nasty favors, which is part of the reason why I'd like to know what the source of this debt is and how the Golden Scale deals with them. But you don't need to divide your attention. Your only job for this entire weekend is winning the tournament, and that means you only need to be concerned with how sharp your blade is and how sharp your wit is. We can deal with everything else. As much as possible. Right, Jensia?
Yes. So there's been like through this whole conversation the sense that she's sort of like sitting on a question. Finally, she's like, Carevis, do you feel like you need luck to win? I don't think you do, but I
No.
can't leave it unasked.
No, I don't think I need luck. I need to make sure that luck is not placed upon me or my opponent, if you understand what I mean.
That was what I thought, but I had to ask.
No, I am grateful, but as Zelfa has said, I must focus on the tournament, and I will do that best when I know that I am doing it based on my own blade, and I sort of grin widely, my outrageously impressive cloak. And I kind of like swirl around, allowing it to glitter slow-mo. I'd like to believe that even though I am moving in regular motion, somehow the cloak miraculously moves in slow-mo around me slightly.
So I would love to smash cut here from here to tomorrow, but I don't want to deprive you all of another beat of this scene.
I just want to do one thing. And that is, like, you say, like, that conversation happens, and I go, perhaps we don't need some of the strong luck, as I just did to Jensia. And then I take out a small brooch in the shape of, like, another extinct lizard from the Dialta period of this territory, and I clip it to like the leftmost portion of where the cape meets the rest of your clothing, and I go, again, I trust you don't need it, but it has been my experience that when you represent the things that are true about this island, the things that are true about this island represent you. And I've given you the luck charm that I have in my
from your
gear, and that is now yours for the rest of the tournament.
Do I know that that's what this is? A luck charm? Like have you?
You do not. I have never had this conversation with you before in my life. This is just a cool brooch that I've given you.
Okay. All right. Well.
But it's older than me.
Oops. That's why I fell off.
And I would say, Carevis, as a Bravo, should you learn the nature of this brooch, this type of like buff stacking, incredibly common in the Hibiscus Tournament. It's all about being able to get away with it without people knowing how you stacked the deck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, fair enough. So this is not something everyone's going to be like, you mean this? Like, lose my...
That is not going to get you disqualified.
Okay.
You said a thing, and it strikes me as remarkably Trini in a way that I'm still so very glad is kind of flowing back into this. One of these days I'm going to have to talk to you all about stick fighting, but that's not what needs to happen right now.
Okay. Badass though.
So with that, I would love to then say that Carevis's like flourish happens after giving the luck charm. And then we smash cut to the next day as Rodriguez is basically spinning a cloak in his bout against Wren. And he still looks tired, Carevis, but I think maybe any of the three of you would notice that he has a fire under him, but it is not making him impatient. And so you have the kind of the use of a gentleman's cloak in fencing was frequently for distraction and fouling a blade. And here he is basically he's setting a pattern to try to draw Wren's attention and then come in up and under the blade. And I realize that I'm unfocusing myself by doing fencing stuff here in the video. It's very funny. So we get this here, and it's revealed when we pull back that this is the first of a number of bouts today because all of the bouts today are themed.
Themed?
So when Rodriguez and Wren basically presented themselves, Jevli, basically we do a flashback here where the fight has started and we flash back to the beginning of the day's proceedings,
Okay.
where Jevli says, "We are so confident in the skills of the bravos of the great houses that we have decided a special way of highlighting those skills. One of the great skills of a bravo is their resourcefulness. And so for every bout today, there will be a special theme drawn when the pair present themselves. Both fighters will have the same amount of time to prepare. And the nature of these themes are not known ahead of time by any combatants." And so Rodriguez and Wren are first, and they pulled cloak match.
Ooh.
Where basically you have a rapier and you have a cloak.
Yep.
And the expectation is if you're not actively using the cloak, you are not playing in the spirit of the bout.
It is, if you will, a cloak and dagger.
So
fight.
you're essentially a matador, but your opponent is another matador.
Yeah. It's cloak and dagger. You know what I'm saying, Brandon?
Oh,
yeah,
God.
and so, one
Got 'em.
fencer might wrap the cloak all the way around their hand, and then you basically use it as like an armored gauntlet to bat a blade away or to be able to grab a blade without cutting their hand. Rodriguez is doing the flourish, use momentum to knock the blade aside like you're using a whip.
Outstanding.
Whereas Wren has wrapped this around her hand and is basically using it like a bird would bat something aside with their wing.
Okay. Sounds cool.
And now I'm going to say that we should roll some dice to see how this fight goes.
Okay.
Since we know that Rodriguez's track record matters here. So I'm going to roll 3 dice for Wren, and I'm going to invite one of you all to roll 4 dice for Rodriguez because of the relative tier of these houses. Let me make sure that I'm not messing myself up here. In fact, yes. So 3 for Sapphire and 4 for Fairest.
Okay.
So Sapphire gets a 5. So you want to get a 6 among these 4 dice.
Who's making the roll? Are you going to make the roll, Greg?
Sure, I can make the roll. I just had this horrible image of what would happen if a swordsman named Rodriguez died on my watch. It would be as for a second time, that would be very bad. We can't have that.
Oh no! Oh my God!
You know what I'm saying? You can't. I can't. That dude is the best. Anyway, okay. So what am I rolling? Or what? It's just a fortune roll.
A 4 die fortune roll.
Okay. This is not how you do this. Oh, for God's sake. Okay. Carevis, 4 die fortune. There we go. Okay. 2, 3, 4. All right. Come on, Rodriguez. You can do it. Yeah, you can. Ha ha.
Right.
Let's go.
A 6. So Wren moves in the kind of almost staccato fashion, sudden and then not at all in the way that a bird's head moves tracking a fight. But the thing about that is that once a bird starts moving, they commit to the move. And Rodriguez is able to hone in on Wren's tells and pulls them offline and kind of flips the blade up and around to come down at an angle in a shot that Carevis, has been out of fashion for decades. But he has set it up just perfectly. And so the touch comes in just so and draws blood ever so expertly on Wren, who kind of suppresses a snarl, steps back, and gives a deep bow. And the audience bursts into applause as Rodriguez has won his first bout.
Outstanding. I'm on my feet, just like. This is very, by the way, also Karate Kid tournament watching. Like, it's the one person who's not Cobra Kai or Daniel. It's the other one. You know that there's one random person that loses. Like that's the one, or then the end in the semis or whatever.
Yep.
Nice. So outstanding work. I love
that. Is that, and then without much time to wait, Carevis, you are called up for your own bout. But while this is happening, I want to check in with Zelfa and Gensia. What is your vibe, or what are your intentions or goals today? What are you looking for? What are you trying to accomplish?
Well, so Gensia is focused on, opponents using magic, and specifically Javeli's luck. And so she has sort of like a plan that I think she's probably not shared with the others about how she will handle it when she spots the signs of Javeli's luck. And so she's going to be watching the other fights as well to see if she sees it in use. So then she can watch those people with Carevis. And so, just watching for those signs, in particular in other magic.
Okay. So what I'm going to say is, Gensia, why don't you give me a roll to represent your basically being on watch for magic stuff throughout the day, especially because you have that special ability that means that you can identify magic stuff when it's happening through open mind. So if you wanted to do that, I would say survey, study, or channel are probably going to have the greatest effect here.
I'm always inclined to do channel because I have the most in that. But
that's fine. I think channel, other people are going to know that you're on the lookout more readily if you do channel, because it's a bit more overt. But other people are probably also going to be doing that. If you wanted to be more subtle, I think that could be accomplished with survey. But that's just that, so that you know how I'm interpreting the difference.
Sure. Yeah. I think let's go with channel, and let's sort of like play it up. Sort of say like, shoot your best shot with your magic because I'm on watch and I am, kind of thing.
Great. So this is going to be risky limited because all of the houses are here, and that includes multiple houses who specialize in magic, which means that they're going to be able to be incredibly subtle. So
I am going to give you an assist.
Okay. What does that look like?
I think one of the things that I'm doing, knowing that everybody's going to look for overt magics, in part because I'm also concerned for Gensia being framed in that moment as using that magic as an attempt to actually grant fortune to Carevis rather than pursuing other people's uses of magic, because everybody will be looking for an opportunity to kind of color other people's overt magic as an attempt to cheat. I think what I'm doing before this happens is just kind of surveying most of the space idly and taking personal note of who I suspect on a very idle glance either has a magical object or is being blessed by another knack in each house, so Gensia can focus attention on them as like surreptitiously as possible before ramping everything up. If that makes sense.
Great. So that means you'll have one bonus die. Gensia, do you have anything that will improve your effect here?
So
go ahead.
Well, so the open mind seems like it would be an action I take after sort of knowing what magic's going on. So
You do have a fine arcane focus that you could be
okay.
utilizing here if you want.
Well, I already rolled.
Because I was just about to ask, did you already, was this your role? Because this is a very good role.
So I'm going to be a fan of the characters and say that if Gensia is being overt here, there's no reason not to use the fine arcane focus.
Okay.
And so that your roll should be risky standard. And then with a critical, you would get increased effect.
Okay.
And with risky great, you will realize that the most subtle enchantment of strength and precision has been woven into the steel itself of Valda's blade. And it is the quietest, most expertly concealed enchantment that you have probably ever seen on a weapon. Whereas the Oblivion blade is loud to the point of like deafening. This is the quietest, faintest lullaby of an empowerment. But when you bring your focus and you have the assistance from Zelfa, who, you know, the two of you have certainly enriched one another's knowledge of magic, coming from different perspectives, because the things about magic that Zelfa knows are not taught in the Valloward academies, but you have access to an incredible breadth of materials. And so from your keen eyes and senses together, in the morning of the second day, when Valda is warming up, you're able to, like, first you sense that there's something magic kind of in her vicinity, and you think, you know, is it this necklace that she's wearing? Is maybe there's something in the kind of the light leather armor that she wears, or possibly her boots, and you focus in and focus in and focus in, and her blade sings, not just with the whooshing and of steel displacing the air, but a song with a greater, richer, fuller dimension. And once you start to see it, you cannot unsee it. Because you have great effect, I'm going to ask, what is the telling detail that you uncover once you start focusing on it that's going to make it easier to either do something about it or expose this enchantment to someone else?
Oh, interesting.
Like, because you got great effect, you're going to be able to identify a detail that will make it easier for you to either, or basically, if you want to call foul, it's going to be easier. Or if you want to try to go after that enchantment.
Sure. I'm inclined to say that if you really look at it, it seems to dampen or enhance on the side of like normal hand movements. It's not that somebody's hands are shaking, but that it seems to like be just rock solid in the air in a way that something that is held just because human movements are, you know, always kind of a little bit of movement, that it's like a still photograph in the air.
It's like the sword is a steady cam?
Yeah.
That's very cool. Excellent. So yeah, as you attend to the blade more, you identify that property. Carrine is higher on the chain, like in that hierarchy of houses, and they are known for their magic, but exposing them is risky socially. So I will ask what Gensia is going to do about this now that she's identified it.
Well, I would say that she would, because she's working so closely with Zelfa, she would tell Zelfa about it. But definitely in a like, isn't this so cool way. And if left to her own devices, like, I think that's all she would do with it. Like, see if at the end of everything she can get some time alone with it, but she's not inclined to sort of throw the rock in the pond at this point with this weapon because it's Carrine. And of course they have cool magic, and we're not trying to, though I mean Carevis does need to win, but I mean, Delpha, would you be trying to talk her into anything in particular?
Would I? Um, some part of me is like I would like to be mischievous in this moment, but I don't want to jeopardize your ability to continue working in this space. So I don't think I would.
Okay. Because I'm thinking it would be really hard to, so it would have to be the way of exposing it. It couldn't be the way of like sort of trying to magically counter it, because I'm thinking that that would just be too tough in this situation. So Jancy is not inclined to sort of do the like political kind of throw the rock in the pond thing just on her own. So
Mm-hmm.
she would mark it and then maybe tell Carevis like, hey, she's got a, better blade, but
I think the thing that would be of concern to me is if you believe the information that you have gained would put Carevis's life in danger. Doing something about it is important, but first and foremost, Carevis should know.
These duels are all to the first blood, and accidentally killing another Bravo would be about as bad or worse than finishing last, because it's a display of skill.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jency, I would say you have little reason to believe that Carevis's life is in danger because of this.
okay. Yeah. So, I mean, I think she's going to keep quiet about it. So,
okay. So, is that telling Carevis and that's it for now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Carevis, she'll explain. But
Okay.
All right. So this is very timely, Carevis, because Valda is who you are fighting first today.
Mm-hmm.
And
okay.
When you and Valda step up, Jevely has like a very big hat. It's like it's comically out of fashion. And she has like, a servant holds it up on a pillow and she says, today for Carrine and Vorster, we shall have a blindfolded duel. And then 2 more attendants bring out just gorgeous velvet blindfolds in your and there's a set of 6, so that there's blindfolds for all of the house colors.
That's great. It's comfortable darkness.
And so Valda is given hers. Carevis, you are given yours. And Jevely continues, we know that Bravos do not rely merely on sight. They feel the blade. They hear the movement. They can hear the breath. They can taste the heat of their opponents' inhales and exhales. Bravos, show us how you fight with your other 4 senses. And there's, some applause of like, oh yes, that's very, very nicely framed.
I roll my eyes behind my blindfold.
Okay.
All right.
So before you have to take your blindfold, you are able to what type of blade Valda is fighting with, and she knows what you're fighting with. So you can expect and understand one another's measure to a certain extent. But in the interest of being able to get through the rest of the duels so we can have the whole story of the tournament, I want to ask again what Carevis's approach to this fight is.
Well, Fortunately, having watched...
I'll add a detail that'll make it easier.
Oh, okay.
Your pitch for this time is loose gravel, so there'll be a lot more sound.
Loose gravel, huh?
Yeah, like a gravel playground.
Like a gravel playground.
Right, like the gravel chunks
Yep.
on the ground.
Okay. So, well, fortunately, having recently watched season 1 of Daredevil and watched Blind Fury more than once as a kid, I'm able to, under my breath, whisper the incredible line, wait for someone to be like, I can't see. That's where I live. That's the best line out of Blind Fury. Anyway, so I guess what I'm going to try to do is, can I pitch a flashback?
Absolutely.
So, but this is a distant flashback. So I will take, obviously whatever stress I have to do
tell
this.
Tell me what the scene is.
When I first began as a young Bravo, I had a mentor who taught me in the ways of this sort of fighting. His name rhymed with Chaosthenes. No, I'm just joking. In no way is this related to my novel Gray Shade, where this exact thing happened. No, but I had a mentor who worked me through multiple methods of fighting, and I remember in this flashback my mentor having repeatedly made it impossible for me to even get to him. Just like, I was young and cocky, and I was a good athlete, but it didn't matter because just for some reason he was always one step ahead, blah, blah, blah. And I remember speaking to Father Cartagena at one point and talking and sort of complaining about this and being like, I don't understand what he's doing, and I should be able to figure this out. And it was Father Cartagena who explained to me that there are dimensions of senses and dimensions of understanding. And my problem was being too limited to the dimension of the visual and not enough to the dimension of the spiritual. And I thought he was making some kind of like, I don't know, strange metaphysical stuff that I'm like, okay, whatever, Father, yeah. But later on, it occurred to me that I had to learn to be more than just that the vision could be treacherous. And I had to learn to be more than just someone who would, base things on what I saw in front of me. So the place where I trained instead, and I actually asked this trainer that I was having so much difficulty with, my mentor, was down by one of the riverbanks, not riverbanks, canals that go through one part of, I think, if I remember the map, the northeastern side of Valloward, but there are canals that extend down there. And on the sort of things leading down to the canals, outside of the docks, are gravel banks that were actually placed there. And so it was on the bank of this river where we would fight back and forth, not only using gravel, but also using the sound of the river. And I went out of my way to literally blindfold myself against my mentor, even though my mentor was not blindfolded, rather than simply using my visual senses to combat him. And I was, in fact, able to get a touch in upon him by doing that. So my pitch would be that I did this, but it has been in the past. And so I'm reaching back through my memory to get to this point. And I'll take whatever stress you need me to do to
what
do any of that.
Benefit do you want from this? Because I could see this being, you are setting yourself up. That the training you did in the past is a setup action for what you're doing now.
Because what I'm going to try
to do it that way.
Yeah, that's I think that's right. And what I would be trying to do is I would be trying to use, let us say, my recently, let's see the survey. Yes. So I would be actually doing a survey roll here to try to survey the movements of my opponents. I understand eventually I'm going to be doing a skirmish, presumably, but I would be surveying. I don't think this is gap in the armor per se. I think this is just survey, trying to read the sound of my opponent, who I suspect does not have the same level of training that I do in this kind of, blind fighting, to try to pick up on the gravel. And specifically what I'm doing is trying to minimize the sounds of my movement on gravel and to hone in on the sound of her movement. And if I can do that, then I have an advantage that I can push when I attempt to jump in on the skirmish.
Okay.
So that's what I'd like to do, if I can.
Yeah, so why don't you... I think the first survey roll should just be a fortune roll with a number of dice equal to your survey, because it's so disconnected from this moment that I don't think it's useful to apply a position to it.
Okay.
This flashback will cost 1 stress.
That's fine. So, and I'll put that in after this dice roll. So 2 dice?
If that's what you have in survey, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I'm going to roll these dice with my eyes closed.
Okay. On a 5, you do it. It will not have as much effect as if you had gotten a 6, but it's enough to do the thing. And so we get this montage of everything that Greg described in Carevis's past. And if this were a TV show, the mix would foreground the sound of the gravel as they're moving back and forth and the clash of the blades.
Nice.
And then we cut back to the bout between Valda and Carevis, and that mix is still kind of pushed toward the audio as we are experiencing this moment with the attention to sound that Carevis learned many years ago. And so I'm going to say, Carevis, that bonus is going to give you improved effect, which means that your skirmish here is going to be risky standard.
Risky standard. Okay. And if I want to change the skirmish from risky standard, am I able to take... I want to be careful not to overdo stress because we have the big one coming up against Valeria yet, plus the Rodriguez bit. But, the Rodriguez bit. But what about if I were to take a single stress? What I want to do is improve risky to controlled, I think, more than improve the effect. Or, standard, rather. No. You said it was risky...
Right now you have risky standard,
risky
which
standard.
is kind of a default type roll. You would be at limited effect because of House Carrine being higher tier.
Yeah.
But you have this bonus from the flashback, which I'm applying to effect.
Okay. So maybe I should just stick with risky standard then, rather than dealing with another stress situation.
And I'll say, because we have several more bouts, on a 6 you win, on a 1 to 3 you will lose, on a 4 to 5 we have to do something else to figure out how the bout goes.
Okay. And so no bonus dice on this, right? Because you already applied that.
The other bonus effect thing is that you know what's coming with her sword, in terms of the fact that it's going to be steady, that it has that additional power and precision.
Okay.
So you know to expect that.
All right.
So this is a risky standard.
Does the luck feather help at all? This handy dandy.
The luck will give you +1 die 1 time.
Oh,
this assignment.
No. I need to hold on to it for okay. So I will. Okay, here we go. Risky standard. Be the die.
Okay. So that's a 3, a 1, and a 2.
Damn it.
So here's the thing, Jensia. Carevis is doing really well. And so Valda kind of very sneakily touches like a buckle on her belt, and the sword gets loud. That bubbling, that kind of like the lullaby becomes much more pronounced, and Valda basically blows through Carevis's totally solid guard in such a way that it looks like she's just caught exactly the right angle. but you know only happens because of the magic. And so she blows through Carevis's good guard that would have worked and kept him from getting hit. And instead, it kind of displaces his blade and comes over to strike you kind of across the outside of the arm in a blow that no one can deny landed, but you realize is because that sword was even more powerful than you believed.
I mean, I think at this point she's going to have to, she'll yell out something. I don't know. I don't know enough about the rules, but I'm sure she would some sort of like, "Hey, ref," kind of.
Yeah, like would you
Call it both ways?
Right? Would you call a foul, or would you say, would you call out like cheat or cheater, or a few of those things? I don't know if Brandon or if you or Greg have a idea on something that would be appropriate to call out here. I think marshal is probably the referee is the marshal.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think some kind of like calling out, "Marshall, that's a foul," and then some kind of like, are we not testing strength of arms, not strength of magic?
Exactly.
If it was magic, I would be in the ring.
Like, or something like active dishonor, type of thing. Like
Yeah.
And I like that that's happening as I'm kind of taking a step back, because I'm like, what the, type of thing.
Yeah. So Valda is stone-faced. We're not getting anything from her whatsoever, but Lobelia Carrine, the Grand Oracle,
Yep.
is across the field, dressed resplendently. Her dress today is like, it's got layers and pleats and just volume everywhere, and like her hair is asymmetrical the other way, and she looks otherworldly in an enchanting fashion. She steps forward and says, "You should remember your place, dear. If there were foul magic, do you think that others would not have noticed it? Do you think your senses so finely tuned that only you call out this supposed foul? And your objection is going to get thrown out unless you can make some kind of successful roll."
Okay. Let's see.
Of course, the others are able to interject and support here.
Actually,
Sure.
So go ahead, Selva. I have an idea too, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm definitely using my second foresight assist for this. And
so here's what I'm thinking. I don't have any sway. But if I did do some kind of channel to so say modify like I did when I found the necromantic magic traces. If I do some kind of like pull something out, blow it, throw it onto the sword to visibly use magic to show the presence of magic to even people who aren't knacks.
Right.
Maybe I could roll channel as opposed to something else.
So you absolutely can. But what I'm going to say is that if you roll channel, it is going to be in a desperate position.
Okay.
Because you instantly know that Lobelia could just say, "You're the one that put the magic on the sword," because you couldn't bear to see your Bravo lose a fair fight.
Mm-hmm.
And so the consequences of not selling it perfectly are going to be substantial if you go the channel route. Whereas if you were to use consort or sway, you're focusing on the argumentation and you're not necessarily exposing a vulnerability in terms of an immediate counter argument that you could imagine.
Okay.
Can I make an assist question? I need to know if I can do this, because I imagine that Valda right now is, like sort of preoccupied by the discussion that's being had. So I wonder. Go ahead. Sorry.
Valda has stepped back and assumed a attentive but not actively combative position, because the blow was called. Like the fight has been called, and now there's an argument. So you're not actively dueling at this point, and she is just in a ready position, in a fairly like martial, much like a soldier's bearing.
Okay.
Right. The blade is down but ready, and she is stone faced, basically looking to the marshal, because the marshal is the one who makes the decision here.
My thought is this is very risky, so I can easily be overruled, is to make the assist here.
So, one assist per roll, right?
Oh, so in other words, if Zelfa does it, then I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then in that case,
unless this becomes a group action. If this were all three of you arguing, it could be a group sway, but only one character can assist per roll.
Okay. I had this idea of doing this like swift thrust that none but a magic blade could actually like counter, to just be like, that seems pretty fast to me. But that's
also very risky.
I know that.
Because
I know.
Because
so that's
then
fine. Let Zelfa do what they're doing.
Right. Like that is attacking outside of
I know.
the bout.
I know.
Okay.
That I figured as much.
Yeah. I set this up so it wouldn't be easy.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna sit there and wait for Zelf and Gensia to be awesome. That's how this works.
This has been narratively established in a very complicated way that I adore. So I'm gonna ask a series of questions.
Okay.
One. Arcane implements should theoretically be so vague that it should include an as yet undefined object that is capable of merely identifying whether magic occurs in a space or not. This is the most tactical, this is the most crunchy I will ever be in a game ever. But I'm asking because I want to establish several things in my assist. Is that theoretically possible, Mike?
Yes, but I'm going to say that doing so is not, it's not like just having a metal detector, right? That there's some subtlety to it, there's some uncertainty or something like that, because magic, even though we have kind of defined the bounds of it, I think it makes sense that it be in some ways unreliable or inconsistent, or consistently inconsistent, or inconsistently consistent. So that's answer one.
I will accept that. With that in mind, I would like to qualify two things. One, I have another foresight available, which is the assist that I plan to use.
Okay.
And two, depending on the circumstance, I'm letting you know right now that depending on what the circumstances, I will mark my special armor as well.
Okay.
Which allows me to resist a complication related to suspicion or persuasion for you or your coterie when you are present.
So I will say that that's going to be able to apply, but you don't need to use it yet.
Yeah, I know. Okay. I just observing the thing beforehand. So whatever happens, at least Gensia doesn't suffer any negative consequences. It's just a matter of making sure that the thing happens.
Okay, so new idea, and I think this is what I'm going to do. Sorry, I can still take the assist, but
we're not the only people in the world who will ever be crunchy about dialogue. I love it.
I think what I want to do is I want to go with consort because I at least have one in that, and I'm going to, since Lobelia was the one that she met before, right? Who gave her the advice about the gloves, etc. Right?
Yes.
So I think that what Gensia is going to do is she's going to go full nerd and basically start complimenting Lobelia on how wonderful the spell was, and she's going to like see if Valda lets her get up close enough to like touch the like hilt over her hand and like sort of try to lift it up so that the audience can see the Steadicam sword, and say it was so subtle, and I said nothing because I wanted to see it work, but just at the end there, it was too much. You didn't even need to have it have that much effect, and so that was why I cried out, but I was enjoying it all along, and basically she's going to try to like lay on the flattery with the nerding out.
Yeah, and it seems like doing that would soften the social blow to her and to Carrine, because it's, well, very well done, but it's that like the gentle critique and one-ups personship that I think we've established as being like endemic to like Vallowed noble tradition. So I think that's a solid approach.
Can you do the like Sherlock Holmes thing where it's like clever, almost too clever, but not clever enough for when I, you know what I mean? Like walking around as everyone's just like, oh wow,
Yeah. So that works for me. Zelfa, you are assisting with this arcane implement that can detect magic, or something else?
If consort is the plan, I feel like the narrative justification is more so following Gensia's lead in terms of actually engaging in dialogue, but I'm also open to just revealing the thing. Which would be better for you, Gensia? Backing you up in debate or revealing a thing?
Well, so I think that Gensia, she's got the whole nerd thing going, and I think that's probably a one-person show. And so if you sort of are showing the properties of the sword to a marshal at the same time, then like maybe that works in parallel.
Yeah, that works for me, I guess.
That's fine. I mean, however that yeah, I am happy to go along with whatever in this case.
All right. So with that kind of flattery approach in mind, I think that makes a great deal of sense. You said this was consort?
Yeah.
Okay. So consort, you will get +1d from Zelfa's assist.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that consort here is risky limited.
Okay.
Even with the stuff that you have, because it's really an uphill fight.
Yeah.
And you don't have that much clout here in the kind of the next. You are a knack, you are recognized as being exceptional in that way, but this is Lobelia.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see.
So if you wanted to push yourself, you could gain effect. You could push for effect, or you could, I could come up with a lady's favor, which you would be able to use for a plus effect, but then there would be some other consequence or cost. Mm-hmm. And I think the lady's favor here would be that Lobelia's interest in you sours to become more of a problem for you.
No, I don't want to do that. I mean, I with the role that I have, so I would, having rolled, then I decide to push myself. Is that the?
No, you won't decide to push before the roll because it's
okay. Well,
it
I
impacts
rolled,
effects.
so.
Oh, okay.
5. That's a 5.
So with a 5, you do the thing, but there will be a consequence.
Her interest in you sours. Damn it.
This is limited effect. So that alone will not solve the whole problem. Basically, a standard effect would get the bout forfeited for Valda. So what I'm going to say is that Lobelia offers, very well, child. As Carrine's honor is above reproach, I propose, fine marshal, that the bout be refought with blades provided by the hosts.
I'm like, I'm like having
That's
stood up
worse,
slowly.
no?
I'm kind of like my eyes slip to Jency and
and
Zelfa. I'm like,
the consequence is absolutely they are going to give Carevis a worse blade.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
I mean, guaranteed loss versus a shot at something. I mean, maybe I will have to use your luck thing, Zelfa's luck thing.
You might just have to.
Yeah.
But that refight will have to wait until after we take a short break. Thank you, everyone, very much for joining us this evening as we continue Valloward, our Court of Blades series. I am I'm so delighted to be able to just unleash all of my sword and fencing nerdery and have it be constructive, and that the players are taking everything I'm throwing at them and responding with aplomb. So that makes me very delighted. We are going to take a few minutes to take care of ourselves, and we encourage you to do so as well, whether that is stretching, moving, checking in with people, using the restroom, anything that will let you kind of come back and bring your full attention to the ongoing Hibiscus Tournament, the grand display of arms, parentheses, and trickery. We'll return in a few minutes.
See you in a bit. Okay. And we are back, and we are ready to go with what I'm sure will be a hugely successful intervention, and now everything is going to be solved. And now suddenly House Ferris has agreed to merge with House Vorster. I'm sure that's exactly how this all went down. I will hand things back over to Mike.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for spending some of your evening with us if you're watching live, or some of your day with us if you're watching or listening later on. We return to the Hibiscus Tournament, a grand display of arms between the bravos, the kind of renowned duelists of the 6 great houses of the city-state of Valloward, where Gensia, the Knack, the magic specialist of Valloward, has just played a hand well enough such that Lobelia, the grand oracle of Valloward, a far more renowned magic user, when subtly, or not so subtly, accused of rigging the match by enchanting a sword, has suggested that the bout be refought with blades provided by the hosts. The hosts, House Greymist, who really don't like the Messengers of Vorster.
Don't know why.
So, understanding implicitly, if not explicitly, that Greymist is going to screw Carevis over somehow with this, I will ask the 3 of you, do you want to try to do something about this before the bout is refought? Or do you want to proceed and rely on Carevis's skill, which is not insignificant, as we've seen thus far?
Oh, thank you.
A part of me very strongly believes that it would not only be a very strong indication of our incredible valor and incorruptibility if Carevis were to win with a terrible blade regardless. But in an attempt to prevent a loss of life, I am curious to attempt something. Who's the opponent again?
Valda, the Bravo of House Carrine. She is known for being not ever perturbed. She is very steady. She is renowned and experienced, not flashy. Her the kind of face cast inspiration for her is Gina Torres as Zoe in Firefly.
Nice. I love it.
Because I feel like if we're to do anything that's sort of going against the point of telling Carrine that they shouldn't use obvious magic, because Gensia could probably come up with something, but it wouldn't be subtle. She just doesn't have time or materials or anything to do something subtle.
Okay. I think I know what it is. So I assume that how this is going to be prepared is that a Grey Mist armorer is going to produce exactly 2 swords.
Yes.
I step forward to the Marshal. Excuse me, Marshal. I am aware that me making this statement appears impartial, but in the interest of fair, unbiased contest, given the fact that we have already confirmed that some untowardness may be afoot, and for any number of reasons one may assume that the ebb and flow of relationships between houses is somehow manipulating the blade quality level of contest in this year's tournament, it stands to reason that there should be a leveling that should take place. At your discretion, of course.
And so the marshal is like a woman of some number of years with very short kind of steel gray hair, wearing like a quite colorful outfit, or it's two bright colors. I'm inspired here by the outfits of the Landsknecht, the basically mercenary fighting companies of Germany in the late Renaissance, and they have these just like huge, like very elaborate puff sleeves with lots of slashes, so you can see other colors in between them. Really cool, like big outfits, and like a marshal's staff, and a big hat, because why should you not have big hats? And
I like big hats.
This is like walking through Dragon Con at night with the bigger and bigger costumes, like just, the biggest hat.
And the marshal looks to you with lips pursed and eyes narrowed. And you get the sense that she is very close to telling you to go and sit down. And so I will ask you to make some kind of roll to execute on this request or pitch.
I am going to roll sway. I cannot use a good name because I am almost entirely stressed out. So this is just a base roll.
Well, and
Okay.
Gensia could assist, right?
Certainly. Just
Okay.
Tell me how that works, how that looks.
Well, I think she would just sort of come and stand by and try to get some fellow feeling with the marshal, in terms of like, yeah, people use magic all the time and it's really hard to spot it and it's a big pain in the ass, and like we're gonna try to help you out a little, and like so that everything's above board, because we're sure you don't want to deal with magic either, try to do that.
Can I also use a believable excuse?
What is the excuse?
I think I have like a bulletin clipping from a previous Hibiscus tournament confirming that one house had actually manufactured the situation so that one of their ally houses' weapons was like improved under the radar in the middle of the tournament in order to best another blade, and that joust led to the opponent being severely injured and unable to engage in martial combat ever again.
Okay, I think that works quite nicely. A believable excuse here will improve your effect. And so that is that. Sorry, I want to go back to Gensia's assist. Because I'm very sorry, Rhiannon, if you explained it, it fell out of my head when I heard Brandon's believable thing. I'm very sorry, if you could remind me.
Sure. So she was trying to create fellow feeling with Marshall and sort of offer help and say, I'm sure that magic is a pain. We're trying to like minimize magic because you sure don't want to have to deal with it, I'm sure.
Okay, great. Thank you for the reminder. So that is going to be risky standard with one bonus die. This would have been limited, but the kind of contextualization with the old kind of report from a previous tournament, I think, is a good way of improving your effect that otherwise would have been limited.
And the assist is 2 stress? Or
it is 1 stress for you to give 1 die to Zelfa. So mechanically, in Forge in the Dark games, it's always more efficient to help someone else than to help yourself, encouraging teamwork. And in doing this, I have delayed the audience learning that Zelfa has rolled a 6, a 1, and another 6.
So actually, I assume Zelfa counters the purse with a pursing lips of her own. Is like, no, you sit down before the person even says sit down.
And so this conversation goes about, and the marshal gives like a curt nod, and this marshal's name is Dulay, Dulay, and she says, "Well argued." And then she kind of turns and says, "Squire, bring my armory." And the marshal herself selects basically the 2 blades of a case of rapiers. So historically, sometimes fencers carried what was called a case of rapiers, because they were 2 blades with flat, narrow, or 2 swords with flat, narrow blades that looked like one sword on your hip. But when you pulled them, you split them, and it was actually sword. 2 swords. And so a case of rapiers with like a wrap hilt would have like a demisphere here and a demisphere there, so that when you held it like that, it was a full circle, but you pull it out and each has a half. And so she produces a case of rapiers and then basically presents them to Valda and to Carevis. And you all would know that this marshal is employed by the Academy of Valloward, and that the marshals of the Academy make a point to never be swayed or influenced by the houses in order to protect their reputation. So
can I take a look at Lobelia, by the way, just to see Lobelia being like, I assume like ate a lemon, just at this moment, like, type of deal.
She's a very competent social operator,
sure.
But you are an astute Bravo, and so you are able to see kind of past her niceties and her fine kind of public face, and identify a bit of sourness to her look, as you know that the messengers have foiled her attempt to stack the deck for Valda. And now this is a straight up fight.
Okay. All right. I grab the thing. I resist the urge to hold the one blade, take the other blade, and then hear a with the 2 swords. No, I know it's not how it works. Mike is horribly. How dare you mix Star Wars with my Renaissance awesomeness? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So I test quickly. I assume that it is a quite well balanced, like a quality weapon is my guess, right?
These are quality blades.
Okay.
They are a bit pommel heavy, so they're better for parrying than they are for powerful cuts and thrusts.
Okay.
And it's a little shorter than the blade you're used to. It's a little longer than the blade that Valda tends to use.
We're still okay. Are we still blind fighting?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so what I'll say is I'm going to let the flashback carry. So this is just going to be another straight risky standard.
Okay. So let me see if I can. So another risky standard. So I came into this thing loaded, right? And that was and I have so far, I believe, looking at my sheet, only listed me as having a fine dread blade.
Yep.
So that I have, if I'm counting this correctly, 3 that I have not yet filled from my load. Does that?
So when you are loaded, you can bring up to 6.
That's what I thought. So I still have plenty, is the point, is left to do.
Absolutely.
I would like to suggest that one of the things that I brought was a duelist's gauntlet.
Okay.
And the reason that I want to bring a duelist's gauntlet and use it in this situation is that what I essentially want to do is to, when my mentor and I were training, one of the things that my mentor taught me was not simply to listen to other things and cut out the sound of the water or the sound of, all these things, but just focus. But also to take the advantage because of the noise that I would create. So before I began the fight by minimizing the noise. Here, I'm going to continue to minimize my noise with one exception, which is to make several cases where I am literally going to blind fight feint by hitting my blade against my gauntlet a second before shifting to the right to get, so like hit it to the left before shifting to the right to try to get a blow, so that I'm imagining I do this so the person counters with what they expect will be my position, at which point I shift right to do that. So that's what I'd like to pitch as a thing I would like to do.
Okay. So I could even see this could be a different action. Knowing that you're very good at skirmish, I'm not going to say that you can't use skirmish, but I'm going to say that you might have great effect if you were to roll with sway here.
Interesting.
And on a great effect, you will win on a 4 or 5. But you'll be rolling with fewer dice.
Okay. Okay. Yes, I think that makes sense. I will do sway because I will do sway. I'm trying to decide about whether to use this luck thing, but no, I think I'm still holding on to luck for the need. Okay. So yes, I will do sway. So you're saying my position is still risky?
Risky, great.
Great effect. This effect is great. All right. Anyone jumping on board with any bonus dice? It's fine if you all want to save it. You've done quite a bit already, but just asking.
I sadly cannot without gaining a condition.
Okay, no, don't do that.
I mean,
you may have
if we
already
can
set
think of
this up.
how
No, go ahead. That's fine, Rhiannon. Sorry.
Gencia would help, then I'm happy to. But
yeah, I don't know. I was wondering about that's fine. You folks set it up so that I actually have a second shot at this. Okay, so sway, great, 0 bonus dice. Although I suppose the chat could inspire so as to add a die to my roll.
It is the 25th. And so monthly inspirations will need to be used by the 31st, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. That's right. So if anyone's got an inspiration, Prince Justin is inspired. Hey,
let's go.
That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Prince Justin. A good spot to use it. I appreciate it. This is the payment that I get for making sure that, as Mike said, I put the Minnesota Web Fest up there. So now Prince Justin clearly was like, all right, okay.
Coming around it for you.
Yeah.
So.
No, they're not. Triffett, there are those two as well. Okay. So Prince Justin's using one. So I get a bonus die for that.
Plus 1d here.
Okay. All right. Here we go. Let's make it happen.
Okay.
Oh boy.
That's a 1, a 2, and a 4.
Oh my goodness.
But because Carevis switched tactics and built on his experience fighting from sound, is able to create this aural feint that Valda responds to. And everyone watching, you can see her realize the move that Carevis has done, but she responds just a hair too late. So her blade comes and meets his. She pivots and kind of takes a compass step around. But this time it is Carevis's blade that ever so perfectly and barely grazes along Valda's arm right below the shoulder in a touch. And then Valda steps back, salutes toward where Carevis is, and pulls the blindfold off and kind of gives the bravo of Vorster a bow in recognition of his victory.
And I pull my blindfold off, obviously, at the same time, having taken a step back. And I return the bow and I say, an honor to win in a fair fight. And a slight bow, back. And then a very noticeable nod to Lobelia. And then a somewhat larger and quite obvious grin towards both Gensia and Zelfa. And Mark, who's somewhere elsewhere, wherever Mark may be.
When you look to Lobelia this time, everything below her eyes is obscured by a large fan.
Outstanding.
Because it is still summer.
Of course, that's why, no doubt. Okay. By the way, is Rodriguez in the audience?
Yes, Rodriguez. You can pick out his voice cheering for you in the applause when the bout is called, and when it's done, he kind of comes over and gives you a very hearty handshake and leans in and says, "What I would have paid to see that look on Lobelia's face. You have done us all a great favor today."
And I grin and I say, continue to believe, my friend. And I bow to the marshal and say, and thank you for this exceptional and fair weapon. And I kind of lower it, carefully into the case. And then I return to the coterie, to the messengers. Mm-hmm. And then I start chanting 2-0, 2-0. No, I don't do that. Oh, man. Okay, good stuff. So 2-0. By the way, do I know that has got to put me at the top of in soccer, they would call it the group stages. Like, I assume that puts me up there with the other 2-0s. Like, who else is 2-0, I guess is my question.
Right. So
Valeria,
don't double check
probably.
my math. Don't at me, folks.
Okay.
Valeria is 2-0.
Of course.
We know that Marlowe, Valda, and Rodriguez are at most 1-1.
Yeah.
We know that Wren beat Rodriguez. No. Other way around.
Yeah, Rodriguez beat Wren, right?
Rodriguez lost against Valda and beat Wren.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say right now the 2-0s is probably you and Valeria.
Outstanding.
Your next bout today is against Wren. And my suggestion / request, because I have a beat at the end,
mm-hmm.
is that this fight against Wren, we elide just a little bit.
Sure, that's fine. Yeah, whatever you want.
Because that will let the third day be your fight against Rodriguez and your fight against Valeria.
Yeah.
Which to me are the ones I am most emotionally invested in dramatizing.
No, I'm happy to get the fight against the Kansas City Royals over with right now. I think that's fine. My apologies to all Kansas City fans.
So your fight against Wren is going to be on a plank as a duel with a naval theme. And so basically like bricks are set up and a 1 foot wide plank is laid out with, some supports so that it's not just, one bowed plank 10 feet, across 10 feet. So you are required to stay on the plank. If you step off the plank, you lose. If you are knocked off the plank, you lose.
Okay.
But your armament is up to you. This is something that, is negotiated between the houses.
Okay. Well, in this case, it would not be a Dreadblade for me. It would be my third gear, which is a fine courtly blade. Because we need something lighter for this. I can't have something heavy on top of this item. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay. And so you know that Wren is fast. You know that Wren is a little bit unorthodox. But Wren being tall means that Wren's center of gravity is also higher, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that it's established that Carevis is not a short man himself.
Right.
So I will return to the question of what is your approach to this walk the plank bout.
So I want to be changing heights here quite a bit. I want to be able to, when he goes low, I go high. No, to be able to feint low and attack high. Sorry, because when I want her to be trying to block low under the assumption that she's going to be attempting to kind of bow over a little bit, which means when I come high, she goes back up like this and thus is a little bit imbalanced. So the idea would be low, high, and then sort of push like almost forward so as to imbalance and have her push at the plank. So what I'm trying to do is get her off the plank more than do a touch by imbalancing her by varying heights.
Okay. So I will say, again, to continue illustrating the ways in which a fight is not always just skirmish, I will say that you are going to have great effect if you were to use maneuver.
I was just about to ask about that. Okay. It's only one die, though, is the problem.
So basically, you can roll risky standard with 3 dice doing skirmish, where you need a 6 to win outright. And on a 4-5, we basically dig deeper into the bout.
Okay.
With maneuver, you would be risky great, and you would win on a 4+.
But with
1 die.
1 die.
Unless you get bonuses.
Okay. Well, chat, I will call upon chat to see if chat is interested in inspiring, because there are, as Triffid asked, the inspirations have not been used for this month, the 2 channel inspirations that come to people who use channel points. So you could do that and get 1 bonus die, and then Zelfa and Gensia can decide if they have anything they want to do that will or won't help. And if not, then I'll just, I'll risk it for the biscuit. I have a little bit of a buffer, but it would be real nice to go into the fight tomorrow in the next session with a 3-0 record. Triffid has redeemed Arvanaut inspirations. Outstanding.
All right.
Okay, so that means that we can do that, assuming, Triffid, you're going to use that inspiration. If you are, then that's what we would do.
Yep, and that would give you...
Thanks, Triffid.
Your +1d, so you would be rolling maneuver at risky great and winning your bout on a 4+.
Risky great, okay, and then 1 die, and then again, no problem if you don't. I'm just asking before I do it.
Yep.
Thank you, Triffid.
Inspire Arvanelleron, so it's
awesome.
all official.
Okay. Thank you very much, Triffid. So yeah, up to you, Zelfa and Gensi. Otherwise, I'll do what I can here.
And again, unfortunately, I cannot.
Yeah, no, I know. Not you, because we don't want you to eat over condition.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, my brain is coming up empty as far as helping with magic, but not doing a cheatery kind of thing magic. So
the other thing I might suggest as an option is there some insight or some parallel that Gensia could draw that might be a useful bit of advice for Carevis in this bout? Either sometime when she faced a parallel challenge in some way, or some principle of magic that might apply philosophically or metaphorically.
Oh, that's a good one. So I feel like rather than going towards the magic balance, something like that, Gensia, on the last downtime, I established that she likes to go out and climber around in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
And so the plank situation, I feel like maybe she has some kind of insight there as far as not the fighting part, but the balancing yourself and moving part that she has gotten through clambering around.
Sure, yeah.
Out in the woods, dodging creatures or something.
Okay. So you're giving advice kind of about balance in dangerous situations?
Yeah.
Okay. If that sounds good to you, Greg, then I'm very happy for that to give you another bonus dice. So you'd be rolling maneuver with 2 bonus dice.
Okay. I can imagine that idea of clambering from rock to rock as opposed to just, full speed ahead and all that. but thinking more about side-to-side movement. Okay, yeah. So 2 bonus dice, risky great. Here we go. Oh, damn.
And there is a 3, a 6, and a 5. So
Let's go.
even on standard effect with that 6, you would win. And so what I think that means, well, let me throw it to you, Greg, if you have an idea of how you want to paint the picture of how this bout plays out with Carevis winning.
Is there a way that, because of having a 6 and a 5, is there a way that I could paint this such that this might have a beneficial impact on tomorrow's fights against a person whose name rhymes with Blublaria?
Interesting. Let me think about that for a moment. Yes, I think the way that I will do this is, so I know what it is, but it's going to be about something that Wren tells you after the fight.
That's cool. Yeah, because because what I'm trying not to do, I don't want to embarrass Wren. I think what I would do is do my low, my high. Wren takes sort of a step off. And what I could do if I were being a jerk and deliberately attempting to kind of embarrass Wren is I would sort of step up, like forward on the plank, thus putting myself higher than Wren and sort of lowering my sword blade such that I was like literally above her, right, and sort of looking down. Instead, what I'm going to do is, her having stepped off the plank, I will remain where I am, and then, her having been taken off, take one side step without moving forward off the plank myself, because I've won the bout now, and bow slightly and say, an honor to be able to in some way maintain balance against the swiftness of this bird, and kind of nod my head, and then sheathe my sword. So, like, really trying to make it be like, oh, wow, tough fight, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
like,
you're
good job.
Gracious.
Yeah.
Okay. And so with that graciousness, that evening, Carevis, you are kind of being toasted, and there is a portion of the evening that is various dignitaries and important people and visitors coming and getting a bit of your time. Okay. Because with a 3-0, you are emerging as a dark horse contender to win it all.
Okay.
And so a lot of people want some of your time. And so Gensia and Zelfa, Carevis is frequently kind of carried away by a current of not necessarily all sycophants, but people who enjoy the idea of being known to have been seen with a major contender.
I knew them before they signed with a major label.
And so you're separated in that moment. Carevis, there's a time when you're able to extricate yourself to, use the restroom or refresh a drink, and you get away from the crowd.
Okay.
And you have a moment to yourself to look out over the city. And you notice Wren just before they make themselves known, and she steps close enough that you can hear as they speak in a very soft voice. And Wren says, "Valeria's anger is very powerful, but I have seen that it burns her up inside. If you can make her boil, that fire, that fury will evaporate and take some of her strength with it. You have shown that you can maintain balance. Can you push her beyond steel, beyond resolve, beyond her anger? I look forward to finding out." And then disappears back, probably behind a shrubbery or something. The how of how she got to where she was and then said stuff to you and then disappeared, somewhat uncertain, but what they said was clear.
I kind of smile a little bit, I think, and I put sort of one elbow on the railing and I look out, enjoying the moment of the night. And I would say maybe I hear the equivalent of a Valloward's nightingale, perhaps singing in the darkness, and I might say something like, "Fly away, little bird. We'll see whether your song rings true tomorrow."
So, Brandon, is there a Caribbean bird that would be especially appropriate and might be the type of bird that would have some kind of cultural markers or additional meaning that we might cast here in this moment?
So I'm fond of hummingbirds, right? And we don't have to use this exact same one, but in particular, there's a particularly colorfully breasted hummingbird called the ruby topaz hummingbird that I really really like, and I like the idea of being in the same vein of something that is small and moves very quickly but is also brightly breasted, and we could give it a different name. So I like, let's say, the sapphire hummingbird.
My dad's favorite bird, by the way, the hummingbird. So it's a good choice.
Which, of course, is very fitting because Wren is the Bravo of House Sapphire.
Oh, that's right.
And so
yeah, let's
clearly
go. So we get 6 bonus dice. No.
So I think we establish now that the heraldry or the blazon of House Sapphire would have that hummingbird on it.
Nice.
And so we can tie those details together, and we will leave Carevis with his nighttime view, and join Zelfa and Gensia as Caitlin Vorster has, with a very subtle gesture, told you, Zelfa, that she needs to speak with you and Gensia, and that you should join her in this side room that is like the designated House Vorster room, where it's like, people aren't gonna fuck with you here. Like, this is your dugout equivalent.
Okay.
And she is in a lot of finery, probably more than Zelfa you would know that she's especially excited to be in. She'd probably rather be reading than being here tonight. But she sits at a table with like a stack of correspondence. And you know, from having worked with Vorster, I think both of you, that some of this is like intelligence reports. And there are seats, and there's wine here, and there's like fresh fruit and kind of refreshments just for this coterie and kind of the Vorster retinue writ large. And she kind of asks you to sit. And how has the event been treating you so far? This is only my, I think, 3rd since my debut. I've been to others, of course, but strange demarcations and delineations, classifications.
That this is technically only your 3rd, that you've never seen any before it, is such a weird rule. You have probably seen more Hibiscus tournaments than other house members your age, which is saying a great deal.
It hasn't gotten old yet, and for that I'm grateful. Gensia, that was very well spotted. I thought that there was something off, but I couldn't quite get my finger on it. It was very surprising that it became evident. I've not seen a magic that can hide itself like that before.
I had thought of, before it sort of became so obvious, I thought maybe I could get some time with it, the weapon, afterwards, and ask Lobelia for advice, and obviously that's not going to happen now. But I'm disappointed that that chance is off the table.
But you acquitted yourself very well. Lobelia is formidable is the nice word I would use. Terrifying is
Yes.
probably appropriate. Like, what if the most powerful sorceress in the city was also just a terrifying auntie? But I'm afraid that I've called you over not just for niceties, but to share with you information that is important and to trust to your discretion what to do with it. Father Tartagano has fallen suddenly ill, and I suspect foul play. And that's where we're going to end tonight.
And we're the first to know. This is terrible.
Well, shit.
I mean, any version of this at Carevis, any version of this is actually bad for Carevis. But I guess us knowing first is better than Carevis knowing first. This is terrible. Oh my god.
Unbelievable.
I would say, Zelfa, you would know from having worked closely with Caitlin and having that kind of a deeper relationship with her. You can imagine that she comes to you because you know Carevis better than she does, and just going and telling him could absolutely throw him off his game.
Mm-hmm. This is tragic. Oh my god.
It gives me, as the GM, something to put on your shoulders to have to struggle with, because there's plenty on Carevis's shoulders from a narrative responsibility standpoint, and we'll leave.
I can't wait for the lady's favor, where it's like, this will work, but it means that Carevis will suddenly find out about Father Cartagano, and just like, God damn it, like
maybe.
Oh man, alive.
But that exhalation of frustration is exactly the kind of response that I was going for in trying to set up this cliffhanger. So thank you all. This is a lot of fun. I may have to figure out what's the campaign that I can run that's just all tournament arc.
Yeah, like, oh man. It's like, well, it's like Fight with Spirit, but all like courtly blade stuff, you know?
You can run a series of we're modding Fight with Spirit, everyone. That's what we have to do.
I mean,
Fight with Style, the mod of Fight with Spirit.
I genuinely considered using Fight with Spirit for the sword duel part of this, but I didn't want to deprive Greg of the chance to use the specific Bravo abilities that Carevis has.
Yeah.
And that because there is enough in this game that is specific to the fighting and the fencing, I didn't want to make things more complicated in a different way. Also, because I'm so comfortable with the Forge in the Dark style, so that I can do something like, oh, on great effect, you win on a 4+.
Yeah. Plus,
like
as a writing note, this is, I think, a good writing note for people watching either right now or afterwards. The reason this fight works and the reason that we're all like this is because of what has happened before and after the fight, right? It's the context that gives the fight meaning. So if you're just doing, now I'm not saying that you can't do that with the Fight with Spirit, but if it's just sort of the equivalent of fight after fight after fight, I don't think it has the same punch as being like, you know, these bastards, like, you know, the whole reaction to the whole like, oh crap, something happened to Father Cartagano is because we've spent how many sessions building up like the connection. And I totally, by the way, was imagining at some point, I was really worried that we were going to get the Chris Christopherson treatment in Blade on this, that like at some point something happens to Father Cartagano. I'm going to be like, all right, now it's on, you know, like yeah. So anyway.
Mm-hmm. So killing a mentor, you can usually only do once.
Yeah.
But placing a mentor in mortal peril.
Oh, yeah, that you can do all the time. No, I mean, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
But there's only so many times I can play that card unless the situation changes enough or Carevis's relationship to Cardigano changes enough that doing it again still has an impact because of other things having changed, right? Like if we establish that the last conversation between Cardigano and Carevis ended poorly, and Carevis like sits with this idea of like, what if those are the last words that I got to say to him, right? And so the emotional context and the emotional stakes of a fight are incredibly important. And that is one of the biggest lessons that I've learned as a storyteller interested especially in action storytelling.
Yeah, no, totally. But I'm putting you on notice that if I hear next session something to the effect of, if you go now, save him you could, but you would destroy all for which he has fought and suffered. If you do anything like that, I'm putting you on notice, all right? Like, if I have to Cloud City this guy, I will do that, you know?
Because what's the difference, honestly, if you go 4-1 versus going 5-0 in the big scale?
Yeah.
And that's the question for Carevis.
Right.
It's like, where are his priorities?
Right. Yeah, no, for sure.
And
Zelfa and Gensius too, because like,
right.
you know, if they're like, do we tell Carevis or not? Like,
yeah,
juicy.
Do you try to handle this on your own without him knowing about it? Is this where Marcelo comes in?
I was just about to say, unless we're like, Mark, you must save him, you know? Like,
right.
You know,
so that
anyway,
sets us
it's good.
up for a variety of cool things for next time.
Good.
And that is very exciting. We will need to double check our schedules, but we will announce soon the next date for Valloward, which will again broadcast here on twitch.tv/ArvanElron. And in the next month, we have the New Jersey Web Fest. So I think we will get to play again before the Web Fest. So that is, keeping that in mind. But I would say when we get to play in October, if the fates are with us, and by the fates, I mean the honest, subjective opinion of the jury for the New Jersey Web Fest Awards.
Yep. Who have a brace of swords for us, just to be clear. Brace of rapiers. A case of rapiers.
A multi-award winning actual play series. But that is yet to be determined. And honestly, it's just been amazing to get the positive reception and the recognition that we've had so far. And it all happens because of these amazing performances from my players and their creative collaboration and contributions. And we do this because we know that we're not just doing it for ourselves. We share and we broadcast and we record this because we want to put something out into the world for people to enjoy, to give them something to laugh at, to cry with, to think about, to inspire them to make their own art. So thank you, everybody who is watching, listening, participating in chat, and or who has supported the show over the year or so that we've now been making it. And I will stop there. Otherwise, I will just keep gushing, and that's fine. So I'm going to invite the players to remind everyone where they can find you on the internet, and plug a thing of yours or shout out some other thing that you want people to check out. And then we will wrap up.
All right. So I think I'm first in this order. First of all, again, many thanks to Dancing Master Mike. Very well done again. It was a pleasure to be a part of this. I dig tournament stuff. I think this is the second game that you've been GMing for me, Mike, in a row where I've gotten to be part of a tournament one way or the other. And it is pretty badass to be able to be part of it, and super clutch play from Rhiannon and Brandon in like compensating when I couldn't cover everything. Just like that's some crap. So also thank you to the dice for not screwing us over tonight. That was a nice change, and of course to chat for the inspirations. So I'm Gregory Wilson. I am Arvan Elleron on this channel. As I mentioned before, a big thing going on with me right now is my Greyshade universe. Greyshade and Renegade are both out in the world. Renegade just a few weeks ago. Greyshade is an award-winning novel, and And the if you go to that Greyshade link on my channel, or if you go and look for Athos Arts and Greyshade, you'll be able to find a place where you can link and get book 1 and book 2. I'm working on book 3 called Heretic that will be out next year. We also have the audiobook done by Trent Sparks of Greyshade, which is really awesome. You can buy at that link. And we also have the tabletop role-playing game being designed by one Brandon O'Brien, which is going to be going into playtest at Big Bad Con. So that is going to be there. If you're going to be out there, you should get in on that playtest super fast, because it's going to be amazing. I cannot wait to hear of the results, and you can pre-order that. And also, just a quick reminder to those who are watching this live that tomorrow night at 7:30 p.m. Eastern is the release party for my band The Road, a progressive rock band's 4th album called Exodus, and we will be playing that tomorrow at 7:30, so please stop by. We will have fun and giveaways, and all 3 musicians of the band, Michael Bruce, Zach Clay, and myself, in chat to talk about the album and to play some songs and reveal the art from Drew the Damager, our very own Drew, here in chat, and all that kind of good stuff. So definitely check that out. You can find my website at GregoryAWilson.com. And other than that, just, follow me here on this channel, twitch.tv/ArvinElleron, and we will see more stuff. But really fun session tonight. Thank you, Mike and Rhiannon and Brandon.
As for me, I have been and remain Brandon O'Brien. I am a poet, writer, and game designer from Trinidad and Tobago. As of this very present moment, there are 3 hours and 24 minutes left in its creator day. So a reminder again that you should support a couple of Drakes and buy all of their cool stuff, because they make cool games, including the one that we're playing right now, and all kinds of other things you can get your hands on and play at this very moment that are all very cool. You want to do some Western stuff, you want to do some magical girl stuff, you want to do some mech stuff, they have those things. And you should definitely check those out. I also have a sale on itch.io. So if you want to play a game where you are on a date with someone that you are really smitten with, and they're acting really weird, and you don't know that they're acting really weird because they're actually a werewolf, you can play that game as well, and it's actually very cheap. Less than how much you probably pay for a cup of coffee in the US, because I hear those things are terribly priced. But yeah, you can see me at Big Bad Con in late September. As of this moment, it will be like just over 12 hours from when signups for events will open. So if you want to get into my Greyshade playtest, you should sign up for that very soon on Saturday. But other than that, you could just meet me anytime on the weekend and I will tell you all about Greyshade. I will also be running a playtest of one of my own games, Hero Revolution, so if you want to hear me have Kamen Rider feelings, I will be doing that as well. But you can otherwise find me almost everywhere on the internet at The Rising Tides. Now I have a website that is also my newsletter, BrandonO'Brien.xyz, where you can hear me ramble about writing and RPGs on a regular basis. And I think that's it.
I've been Rhiannon Held, and you can check out my books, especially in the narrative sale. I will drop the link in the chat. There's lots of science fiction, fantasy, and I believe horror books that are all free, $1, $2. And you can get my standalone urban fantasies and the first in my space opera series. So check those out. And I am on a couple of other streams on the Dungeon Scrawlers channel, which is also authors who do D&D. So on Monday evenings, 6:30 Pacific time, we have the Isekai game where we're playing ourselves in the realms, in the Forgotten Realms. And then on Wednesdays, 6:30 Pacific, we have our Westgate irregular characters are in that campaign. So check those out.
Okay, and I've been your dancing master. I am Mike. I write as Michael R. Underwood. You can find Born to the Blade, the martial arts, magic, fencing, and intrigue series that I created and co-wrote with Malka Older, Marie Brennan, and Cassandra Kaw at realm.fm. That is Born to the Blade. And you can catch up on all of the past episodes of Valloward at speculatesf.com/videos/Valloward. Thank you all very much for joining us this evening or watching and listening some other time. take care, good luck, and keep your fingers crossed for Father Carragano.
Father Carragano. Hashtag save Father Carragano. Bye, folks. We will see you folks soon. See you tomorrow night, and bye, Speculate, folks.
Welcome, dearest retainers, to Court of Blades, and welcome to Valloward, the greatest city in this or any other age. A city where hearts race and swords flash, where intrigue and danger lie around every corner. Centuries ago, celebrated veterans were given title to Valor Isle, a place long abandoned by its first residents. Here, the heroes found ancient secrets, bountiful land, and a fruit bearing oracular gifts. Generations later, 6 families vie for ultimate control of this jewel of the archipelago, each seeking to lead the great dance of houses. A new retinue rises to clash with flashing blades, veiled plots, and powerful magics in pursuit of their house's interests and their own secret ambitions. Speculate presents Valloward, a Court of Blades campaign, starring Primi Mohammed, Marie Bilodeau, Brandon O'Brien, Gregory A. Wilson, and your dancing master, Michael R. Underwood. Be welcome, retainer. Get comfortable, but not too comfortable. It's time for Court of Blades.